World Financial Group offers entrepreneurs from all backgrounds the opportunity to start their own business on a level playing field. Dr. Yana Woodhouse, receiving the WCM Wall Street Pioneer Award by the United Black Wall Street of America, Inc., is one of those entrepreneurs.
I see WFG and TFA as a place where African Americans with an entrepreneurial mindset can flourish. And the bonus, we help families and serve the communities across the country.
To learn more about us, go to worldfinancialgroup.com.
We are the sons and daughters of the soul. We are resilient and forever forward-thinking. We ask for nothing else than the opportunity to live and to create the lives that we were meant to live. We want nothing but an equal chance at options and possibilities. The same possibilities and options to live out our potential as our fellow man. We want to be heard, understood, and expressive in our reality. We are the future. We are the creative. We are here.
Happy Tuesday, everyone. It's always a pleasure to be in this space here on The Bold Show to interact and engage with others who are like-minded, right? Others who took a chance on themselves. But before I delve into that, I just want to give thanks. I know we just recently, we had our Thanksgiving and folks celebrated with like really eating and being around family and friends. But I also want to encourage folks to just continue have gratitude every single day. When we live in gratitude, our blessings flow. And it also distracts us from the negative things that's actually happening in our lives and also happening around us. And it's also a way for us to center ourselves and a way for us to like work through life's challenges, because this is what The Bold Show is all about, right? Brilliantly overcoming life's disappointments. We are not immune to setbacks, to disappointments, to having hurdles in our lives, but it's how we bounce back, right? How we embrace those hurdles when they come upon us, right? So tonight, without further ado, I'm going to invite our wonderful guest, Aileen Smith Forbes. She is an author. She is a creator. She has altruistic ways, and she is also the definition of being a bold woman. Life often whispers at us, but whenever we don't listen, then life screams at us. And tonight, because life eventually screamed at her, she had no choice. She had no choice but to jump. So welcome, Miss Aileen Smith Forbes.
Good night, Marie.
Good night. It's such a pleasure to have you here.
Oh, thank you for having me. And I love your introduction.
It's always a pleasure. I think for so often when we're challenged and when things happen in our lives, we give up and we just sit back and we automatically think that what do we do, right?
Yeah,
But
absolutely
there's
right.
always a will. There's always a way. Where there's a will, there is a way. So without further ado, I'm going to give you the opportunity to tell the viewers and listeners who you are.
Okay, so good night, everyone. My name is Aileen Smith Forbes. I'm a wife. I'm a mother. I'm also an author. And I'm also the founder of the Herbert Smith Foundation, which was established in 2016. And what the foundation does, it provides need-based scholarship for about 30 children in Jamaica, West Indies.
Awesome. That is really amazing. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about that foundation, how you got started, and just like how you continue, how you sustain that?
Okay, well, it's so important to give back, and I got help throughout my life, and I think it's important to give back to others. And so when my father passed away in 2016, I decided to start a foundation to memorialize him, and so that's how it was started. Yeah, we started with one organization of about 5 or 6 children, and it expanded over the years, and now we're up to three organizations with over 30 children.
Ah, that is just so amazing. And I'm going to go back to something that you said earlier about the importance of giving back.
Okay.
I hope that our listeners or viewers are really going to like really tune into this and like really understand. Um, Giving back or being of service, I think, is so important and so necessary. And I think oftentimes folks don't believe in that because they think they don't have enough. And because they don't have enough, they limit themselves. And we have to get past that because we
Absolutely.
all need each other, right? Support is so important. And we think that no man is an island. I've always heard that platitude as a kid growing up. So we're going to let that to the side for a second and we're going to dive
Okay.
into how you became an author.
Oh, wow. Okay, so that has been a journey, Marie. I tell you. I think I wrote my first manuscript when I was in high school. I remember hiding it because I didn't think it was good enough. And so I remember coming home from school one day and found my mother reading the manuscript. I don't know how she found it, but I was so scared to admit that I wrote that manuscript. So um, I said, "Well, what do you think?" She said, "It sounded like a book." And that's all. She didn't elaborate. All she said, it sounded like a book. And that gave me the encouragement to start writing. Yes, but I didn't actually publish my first book until 2021. Um, Bold Flamingo Publishing took a chance on me, and I published my first book then.
Wow. So from a teenager, and
Yes,
it took you several years before you actually published your first book, right?
yes.
So tell us a little bit about what you were doing before you get to this and what really forced you, because I'm not really sure if you decided that, you know what, you needed to have a shift in your life, or did you have some encouragement to push you there? Talk to us.
Okay, well, I worked corporate America. I worked with the same company for about 30 years. So they did a restructuring during the pandemic, and my job was eliminated. So I decided then that I wouldn't look for a job. So I said, I'm going to take a year out. I had a beautiful severance package, so I took a year out, and in 6 months I wrote that first novel, and I never looked back.
Wow. So tell us what that was like, because oftentimes we are in these positions working in corporate and we feel as if this is all we have because of the level of comfortability, right? And
Exactly.
because
Yes.
this is what we know, right? And life happened.
Oh, yes.
And look at you today. So, from a teenager, you ignored this calling.
I did. I did. Yes. It was scary. And, lack of confidence at a young age, you don't think you have the ability. As a matter of fact, I used to write. I had several manuscripts between a teenager and the time I turned 40 years old. All of them were buried in my garage. Just never had the confidence to put them out there. Yes.
Mm. Confidence, 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 confidence. I know we struggle with that a lot.
Oh,
And
yes.
I think it's
It's
like
real.
our overactive mind that plays these tricks on us, right? But you didn't worry about confidence when you had no choice.
Exactly. Exactly.
So you see,
Yes.
it's like really finding that courage to start. And I always encourage people to start exactly where you're at. If you're waiting for that perfect moment to start, you will never get started.
And that's my
Because
message now. Yeah, that is my message now. No matter what stage you are in life, start there. Yes.
awesome. All right. So we have this bold woman here tonight, right? Life happened and she decided to jump. Well, she had no choice but to jump, right? And here she is, two times published author and counting, right? So
Yes.
we want to get into the scoop. We want to know a little bit more, and we want you to share
Okay.
with our viewers, because maybe we may have a teenager that has some a creative mind, and maybe their parents is not really nurturing that. So how can we, with our conversation tonight, inspire, impact, and motivate others to follow their gut, follow what it is that sets their soul on fire? I love to say that, right? um, so we already know that you discovered your love for writing ever since you were a teenager, and we're going to fast forward to present. So I have the luxury of reading your books. I hope folks can see this is her first book, Perfect Imperfection. Um, talk to us about what inspires you and how do you sit. This one is over 200 pages.
Oh, wow. Well, I get my inspiration from all over, a little bit here, a little bit there, talking to people, listening to the news. Um, most of the time I tackle social issues. So in my book, you'll see issues like police and parenting. I touch on mental health and grief. My last book, Shattered by Sadness, I wanted to shed light on gun violence. The gun violence plague in the city now. Yeah, so I told the story from the perspective of the personal from a personal perspective, so readers can relate. Mom who has lost a child can relate. Because they're so prevalent, and violence is so prevalent in the city right now.
Awesome. I absolutely love it. So you're writing with a purpose. So I think let's show the viewers like actually what the cover of the book looks like. Your last book, Shadowed by Sadness. So here we go. We have like just even looking at the cover itself, like if you walk into a store, there's no way you're just going to ignore this book, right? And once you go ahead and take a look at the synopsis at the back of the book as well, because most black and brown people can relate, and I think just about everyone can relate to having loss, right? Because like I said, we're not immune, and challenges does not discriminate.
Absolutely.
And
Yes.
that's something that we all want to be able to like really understand, and just like really appreciate motherhood and life in general.
Oh, yes. Absolutely.
So you've wrote your second book, Shadowed by Sadness. Can you shed some light to folks who are probably listening tonight and give us a little bit more insights on how you really got here with this book? While we
Okay.
understand it's the social issues, but like elaborate a little bit more.
Okay. So, I lost a brother about 13 years ago to gun violence. And, I watched my mother grieve. I, I actually didn't grieve because I was helping her through her grieving process. So I wanted to shed some light on, the grief that a mother go through on losing a child. I wanted to shed some light and, the purpose of, or finding a purpose rather through that grief. Yeah, so that's basically where that book started from.
Wow. Um, And I think you said just now that you were helping your mother to grieve, that you really didn't have time to grieve yourself.
Exactly.
And when
Yes.
we think about loss, losing a loved one, someone we care about, it's almost unimaginable. You think you will never ever be able to get through it. But I also want to encourage folks to take that moment to embrace and to feel and experience what it is that you're going through. Because what eventually happens when you ignore that pain, that emotional pain, and you bury it into your subconscious, it's going to manifest itself in different ways. And often,
Exactly.
so it's like so important for us to be able to recognize that. And we could stop sharing the cover. I know it's beautiful, but we could stop for now. And later on, we'll really tell folks where they could actually get copies of these books. Because I think the messaging, the messaging is so, so, so powerful, right? So when you're creating these characters, because I've read both of your novels, and
Okay.
they're both so powerful and so profound. And just even your play, like with your protagonist, like how do you like really sit there and come up with the thoughts and just how you write these books?
Oh, it's easy. I've been writing since I was 6 years old. Actually, I read my first book when I was about I think I was 6 years old when I read my first book. And it's funny, I think the story was about a puppy who actually needed a home. And I got to the ending of the book and I'm thinking, no, I don't like the way this ends. So I started changing the characters, I started changing the scenarios. Of course, I didn't understand plagiarism back then. I was six. Yeah. But, it started then, and I'm thinking, maybe I should write my own book, So, an overactive imagination since I was young. I love storytelling. So it's kind of easy, second nature for me.
Oh, so you're a natural. Is that what I hear?
Yes, I would say that. I live and breathe writing.
Awesome. And again, I just want to highlight what you just said. You said from 6 years old, you've been writing
Yes.
and you wrote your first book. I'm going to encourage any parent that is here listening tonight or who will see this later. It's important for you to listen to what your kids are telling you. Oftentimes, as parents, they always think that they know what's best, and they will be quick to put their child in karate or gymnastics or something else, right? And not nurture what their child is demonstrating they have an interest in. It's not your place, and I understand you're a parent, and I'm not telling people how to parent their children. That's not the point. But it's also necessary for us to help nurture that light, help our child to understand that it's okay to explore their creative mind because you never know what can happen. We have to, oftentimes we have kids who grow up and we hear these stories. And I was also one of those child because I was always creative. I love the arts. I love to model. Anything that has to do with being bold or standing out, that was me. But it was always suppressed. And I was always told no, because especially in the Caribbean, you're told that you need to go to school. You either need to be a nurse, a doctor, or a lawyer. That was the choice, or a teacher.
Exactly. And I want to add to that, Marie. I was encouraged, listen, you're not going to get a paycheck from writing. Study business administration when you go to college, right? So I can relate to what you're saying, but I think we're, in times these days, in these times, I think parents are encouraging their children's passion now. And hopefully I hope this message tonight resonate with parents out there to encourage your kids to follow their passion.
And also to add to that as well, it's never too late. So even
Exactly.
if you're on the opposite end where you're a parent and your parent did not nurture your creative side, it's never too late. You could start right here, right now. Age,
Exactly.
age is just a number. It's always about our mindset. If we change the way we think, we will change the way things happen for us. We have control over everything, pretty much, if you ask me, because you cannot control my mind. And no one can control the next person's mind unless I give you permission to do that. And that is power right there. So we are capable of doing anything. Even the word impossible says possible. So why are we limiting ourselves?
Exactly. Absolutely.
Right? All right. So you already said it took you like 6 months to write your first novel.
Right.
So typically, because I think it's safe to say that you have all these novels tucked away in your memory, and all you're pretty much doing them is putting them on paper now.
On paper. Exactly. Yes.
Okay, awesome, awesome. So, what does your process look like in terms of when you're actually writing? Like, talk to us about what the space looks like. Do you need privacy? Do you need silence? Can you be sitting in a crowd and still be writing? Talk to us about what your process looks like.
I have one word for that question, Marie: chaos. I was a student in college. I was that one student who chose the cafeteria to study instead of the library. So when I'm writing, the television has to be on. The more noise, the better. The more my creative process flow, the more noise, the more my creative process flows. So chaos.
Kiss, it sounds like you have to be stimulated when you're
Oh
actually
yes.
creating. Wow. So, do you prefer what time of day do you typically write, or it doesn't matter for you? You will just write once you're
Okay,
inspired.
it doesn't really matter. I'll jump out of bed at 1 o'clock in the morning, and I have a phone that I have, that I can take notes on, and I'm jotting down notes. So any time of the day, as soon as an idea strikes, I have to put it on paper.
Okay. So we hear you. You're a natural at this, right? But what would you say is the most challenging part of being an author?
Okay. So the most challenging part of being an author for me, writing is something that I love.
Okay.
I'm thinking, and you might not find this answer, coming up with characters' name. I really have a hard time naming my characters. I have to get help with names for character. I can't explain the reason why, but that's the most difficult part of writing for me.
Wow. Coming up with the names for your
I'm writing,
characters.
yes, I always have to ask, well, what do you think about this name? But plot, twist, everything it just comes natural.
Okay. Okay. So you already answered that, like what you like most about being an author.
Oh, it's in my blood. Writing is just in my blood. I live, eat, sleep, and drink writing. So it's just a natural part of me.
Do you have any other writers in your family?
My daughter is also a writer.
Okay.
We're
Okay.
actually a creative family. My son is a game designer. My daughter is a writer. Yeah.
Okay. And what about your mother and her side of the family? Like, because like you talked about that your mother pretty much like really nurtured your creative side without even realizing that's what she was doing. So what was that like for you?
Well, my mom was an avid reader, so she always encouraged reading. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Got it. Okay, so that explains where you picked this up because it's like
Yeah.
you were surrounded around this. This is what you saw. So you see, it goes back to children live what they learn and learn what they live.
Yes, definitely.
So we have to be super careful about what it is that we're exposing our children to.
Oh, yes. Yes.
At 6 years old, you wrote your first book.
Oh, yes.
So you
Yes.
could just imagine, awesome, awesome. And who would you consider as your target population?
Okay, so I really don't think about demographic when I write. I think people, regardless of background, race, age, gender, I think they experience the same emotion. So I try to connect with my readers on an emotional level.
Mhm.
So I don't target a specific population.
Okay. Okay. That sounds interesting. I'm gonna push a little bit, right? Because
Okay.
I know for you, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, right? You're writing because this is passion. It's natural for you. This is a part of who you are, right? But then we also have to think about the business side of it
Okay.
and how you're able to like really fund this because when we talk about inspiring and impacting others, we also want folks to understand everybody's journey is different and everybody's story is different as well, right? And you have to also make some sacrifices because it's not just going to be pretty easy. Like you got to nurture this and you have to be willing and be intentional to say, hey, this is what I really want and I'm going to go after it. So just shed some light about like in terms of the business side of it. How is that going for you? And when I say business, I'm talking about possibly like even like with the marketing or how you're selling your books.
Okay, so I actually, the business side is the part I least enjoy. So I have someone who actually helps me with sales. We target everyone. Like I said, we just put it out there and people just buy the book. So I don't intentionally, seek out a certain population to market the book to. Right. So,
Okay. And what are people saying about the books? Like people who have read your books, like what are they saying to you?
oh my goodness, the reviews are great. I'm getting entertaining. I'm getting people said the characters are relatable, the stories are honest, the characters are real. Yeah, I get real positive feedback from folks that read the book.
Okay. And how does this make you feel when you hear that?
Oh God, excited. Excited that I can touch people in that way, through writing.
How do you remain true to yourself with all of this?
Oh my God. Repeat that question, please.
I said, yeah, that's fine. I said, all right, let me rephrase the question. How do you take care of yourself? Because there is these books, they're really entertaining, they're great. But then they're like really tense, heavy issues that we're talking about, social issues
Okay.
that affects people, the loss, the trauma, the pain, right? The separation, the isolation, all of that stuff. How do you take care of you?
Okay. So, I always try for authenticity. I work hard so my values align with my actions. Okay, and sometimes people will make comment like, "How come there are no profanities in your books or more sex scenes, or something like that?" But that's not my writing style. So even though there's pressure, and even though people are saying, "Oh, you could sell more books if you put in, a couple of sex scenes," I stay true to myself. I should stay true to my, genre. So yeah.
It's interesting that you actually say that. And I'm going to go there for a second. We're just
Okay.
going to have a conversation about this because I believe we live in a society that's like sex is so overused. Like everything, like even the milk, when you look at the commercial,
Yes.
it's so almost like it's so sexualized in terms of how they're promoting it. Um, and to actually hear folks that's actually encouraging you to say you should probably include this in your book, right? Um, it just makes me angry to an extent to think that something so pure and honest and filled with the pain we go through, the disappointments we go through, believing that someone really cares for us when it's merely about self-interest, right? When we
Yes.
think about deception, it's all packed in your books. And these are the real issues that we have, that we struggle with, that allow people to think sex is the answer. Because when you don't take the time to fully heal, to fully experience what it is that you're going through, you find other ways to self soothe. And is it necessarily the right way, whether we're going to be become hypersexualized, whether we're going to turn to drugs or alcohol, right? Or we do retail therapy, whatever it is that we use to soothe ourselves. I'm encouraging folks, mental health is such a taboo. Postpartum depression, being a single mother, poverty, and I could go on and on and on. And this is what is highlighted in these books and
Yes.
possible solutions, right? Um, so tonight, if folks don't take anything away from this conversation, stay true to yourself, like you just said, Miss Eileen. You got to be your authentic self.
Exactly. Yeah.
And sometimes people don't know how to do that, but that's a whole different conversation. Um, with like really finding your identity and standing up for what you believe in. Because if you don't know what you believe in, you'll fall for just about anything,
Oh, you're so right.
right? Um, so, with all of this powerful messaging that you're sending out into the world, and we're hoping that folks will take the time out to read your books, or even if they're not purchasing your book, but to like take something away from this conversation tonight and get on that healing journey, right? So, where can people find you to purchase these books or to ask questions if they need some support? Because you already throw it out there that you're like this kind person and you like to give back. So maybe
Oh,
folks have
definitely.
questions for you. So tell folks where they could find you.
Oh, sure. So the book is sold on Amazon and it's also sold on my website, which is www.eileensmithforbes.com.
So I'm going to pick at you again.
Okay.
I know you're a natural and this is second nature to you, right? But do you ever experience writer's block? Do you ever have a
Oh, very rare. When I have those creative slowdowns, like I said, my daughter is also a writer, so she's always ready with those pep talks. She's like ready with the pep talks. You got this, mom. So I'm so grateful for her, during those times. But I'm telling you, writer's block is very rare for me.
I need to come hang out with you some more, probably, just come see if some of that can rub off on me. But in terms of not having writer's block, what can we expect from you? Because like you seem like you're just moving, you're just going.
Oh, yes. So next summer, I'm actually working on a sequel to Shattered by Sadness, and that should be out next summer, fall. Yes, so that's my next
Awesome.
project. Yes.
So, folks, you hear it from the author herself. It's so much messages that we could take away from tonight's conversation. Um, just stay true to who you are. It's never too late to start exactly where you are. It's okay. Just believe in yourself, because I think that's one of the messaging that we really need to hone in on tonight. It's the part about like really believing in yourself. And oftentimes we are we become the stories we tell ourselves. So if we're getting up and we're telling ourselves, you know what, I can't afford it, I'm not going to be able to do this. It's not for me. You're already setting yourself up for failure. Change the way you think, change the way you see yourself. And I'm going to go back to you, Aileen, and ask about, because you talked about support. Talk to me. What does that look like for you? And who, well, we've heard that your family already supports you. But outside of that, like who do you like look to help ground you in times when you feel like it's a bit too much? And I know life happens, right? So how do you get through those moments?
Oh, beside my family, I have a circle of friends who are always there for me. My church, I stay grounded within my church. So my faith in God. Yeah, I have a lot of people around me beside family who really look out for me and take care of me.
Okay. Um, let's talk about your relationship with God.
Oh, yes.
Let's talk about your relationship with God because you've been smiling ever since you got on ever since we started the show. You're so calm, you're so relaxed. And going back to even initially when you shared how you started this foundation after your dad died and talking about the importance of giving back. Talk to me about your relationship with your God.
Oh my gosh. We cannot do anything without God, we need him. Like I said, I grew up in the church. I don't know anything else. Grew up in the church. My faith is always strong, I depend on him. Can't do anything without God. Uh,
Got it. Did you, as a child growing up, were you also introduced to God
Oh
from a
yes. I
childhood?
was, like I said, I knew nothing else. I remember going to church ever since my first memory of church is like when I was about 3 years old and sitting in Sunday school, learning Bible stories. I even taught Sunday school at 16. I was teaching Sunday school. So I don't know anything else.
Awesome.
Yes.
God is so good. And
Yes.
whomever our we connect with on a spiritual level and whomever we, because I'm not here to force and preach my Christianity to anyone, but connecting with your higher being and your higher power is so important and it's so essential to have that relationship. And you have been so consistent, it sounds like God is always showing up for you and you don't give up on
Always.
your God. So that's like
Mhm.
really, that's interesting and impressive as well. Um, what are some words of comfort would you share to folks who are probably dealing with the loss of a loved one? Or, like when I think about your characters in your book, like the real issues of feeling lost and feeling alone.
Okay, well, yeah, that's really a great, question, Marie. Um, you have to find a circle of friends who will be there for you. If you believe in God, find a church, who a good church, who preach the word. The people will be there for you. The members will be there for you. And rely on your family.
Um, you're so blessed to have this wraparound support. And when you talk about your family, um, I'm truly happy that you feel that level of connection with your family. But I'm also going to add to that, right? Because we do have individuals who are socially isolated. They don't have that family. They don't
Yes.
really have that spiritual connection. And so they feel burdened and they succumb to the pressures of life. But I'm here always to tell folks you always have the power to change that. It's how you see the situation. And this is why I started talking about the importance of gratitude and the importance of believing in ourselves. Because when we get to that point in our lives, it's so much easier for us to, when we fall, to get back up and keep moving. But you just have to believe in yourself
Oh, yes.
and know that you are capable. We're always more than capable of getting it done if we just believe in ourselves. And for
Absolutely.
and any messages that you'd like to send to, like, probably even a 6-year-old or a 16-year-old about believing in themselves and trusting?
Okay, yes. My message to anyone at any age is to
Yeah.
follow your passion, believe in yourself. And I struggle. To be honest, an honest conversation, I still struggle sometimes. I have to pick myself up and say, listen, you can do it. So it's actually having that affirmation every day, telling yourself, I can do it. I got this. And please do not lose your faith in God.
Got it. Got it.
Yes.
So, folks, you hear it from the author herself. She's a 2 times author, and relatively quickly you did this because you published your first book last year, correct?
2 years ago, 21,
Yeah,
2021.
2 years ago,
Yeah.
right? And look at you, here you are, number two, and you're putting out a third book fall of next year.
Oh, yes.
So that's impressive. And Eileen is no different from any one of us that's tuning in and listening to this tonight. Eileen has 24 hours, just like everyone that's sitting here. Eileen has life happens with her. Because right now she's going through a situation that no one will ever know. She's smiling and she's happy and she's showing up with gratitude. It's how we carry ourselves, how we view the problem. Separate yourself from what's going on so that you could think logically, so you could think clearly. And once you get to that point in your life, you could do it. Because we sit here and we allow fear of being judged, fear of being ostracized, fear of not being liked, fear of not having anyone buy a book from us, fear of thinking that you don't have enough money. But information is at the tip of our fingers. And you have to ask. Growing up as a kid, I remember there's this Jamaican saying, closed mouth does not get fed. If you don't ask, you will not receive. And while you're asking, be careful who you ask for as well. Because sometimes we're asking the wrong person. And also sometimes we're praying to God and we get angry that God is not giving us what we're asking for. But the God I serve, he gives us what we need, not what we want in that moment. And he's very mischievous and mysterious. He will show you the way to get there, but you have to be obedient.
Absolutely.
When you're not obedient, you miss that calling. So I'm going to ask you to finish this statement for me. I is.
Can you repeat that? I didn't hear this.
Absolutely. Finish this
Okay.
statement for me. Eileen is. How would you
Oh,
describe yourself?
oh, Aileen is bold. Aileen is confident. Aileen is a go-getter. And Aileen is a child of God.
Hmm. Say that last part again.
Aileen is a child of God.
Awesome. Awesome. He who is not every day conquering some fear has not learned the secret of life. On the other side of fear lives a beautiful story,
Oh, yes.
but you will
Yes.
never know if you don't take that chance, the chance on yourself first, because that's something that we didn't talk about. If you don't have that support, because that's powerful. And oftentimes, that's a barrier. That's a barrier for people to jump and for people to like really explore because you're feeling so isolated and you're feeling so alone
Yeah.
and you don't know where to turn. But, folks, Google, YouTube has so much information.
Oh, yeah. It's
It's,
out there.
it's not an excuse. So, like we say, start exactly where you are at and you will get there eventually. Believe in yourself. And most importantly, Eileen, which we didn't mention, is that we have to have patience.
Oh, definitely. Definitely.
We need patience. So, any final thoughts before we wrap up?
Okay, so I just want to encourage everyone that no matter at what stage you are in life, what age you are in life, if you have a passion, please just go for it. And I know sometimes the confident issue it's real, but just tell yourself, like one great person always told me, start with an affirmation every day. And I'm sure you know who that person is, Marie. Start with an affirmation every day. Just get up in the morning and look in the mirror and said, I love you, girl. Yes, yes. You have to encourage yourself.
I love that. I love that. This is a great way for us to wrap this show up because, in saying that, I love that girl. I love that woman that's looking at me in the mirror. I could preach about this, right? Because self love is the most important love that you could
Oh,
ever
yes.
have. When you don't accept your flaws, when you don't accept the color of your skin, the way your eyes shape, your physical attributes, if you can't accept that, you're lost.
Oh, yeah.
When I look around in our society today, when I look at my sisters and I see how conflicted they are, when I look at our young children, it makes my heart, I'm disheartened because we see it, the lack of self esteem, the low self worth, and the messaging that they're receiving.
Definitely.
So, Eileen, again, it was indeed a pleasure to have you here tonight with us to really talk about how you got here and how you keep going. You never
Oh,
stop. So, have yourself an amazing rest of your evening on purpose. And please go grab your copy of Shadowed by Sadness or Perfect Imperfection. These are good reads. The holidays are coming up. Go over to Amazon or go to her website, eileensmithforbes.com, and get your copy. You could reach out to her, send her an email, send her a message, whatever it is. Because you could get an autographed copy as well. Think about that, right? And you
definitely.
could do this. You could do this. And just remember to start your day, start your morning off with some kind words to you. You're awesome. I am awesome. We're all awesome. Have an amazing rest of the night and week on purpose. Thank you so much, my viewers. I look forward to seeing you all next week.
Thank you, Marie.
We are the sons and daughters of the soul. We are resilient and forever forward thinking. We ask for nothing else than the opportunity to live and to create the lives that we were meant to live. We want nothing but an equal chance at options and possibilities. The same possibilities and options to live out our potential as our fellow man. We want to be heard, understood, and expressive in our reality. We are the future. We are the creative. We are here.